I give a quick introduction about myself and the company. Probably a lot of people might not have heard about it. Everest Group. Have heard about Everest Group? Anyone? We always work in one of the questions we get. But Everest Group, just to give a quick introduction about the firm, right? What we do, we are a research and advisory firm. At this point, right? So a lot of people kind of relate more with consulting, and so you can also think of us somewhat as consulting. Like we do a lot of consulting work also. And the focus of the firm is in the area of services, right? So basically, the entire IT services industry. Our clients are like so banks, Accenture, TCS, Wipro, Infosys, AWS, Azure, Google, Cloud, of the world, and so on. So, and I specialize in the cloud infrastructure world, right? So I lead all of our research in the cloud and infrastructure space. And that is everything to do with the traditional IT infrastructure, cloud, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Ops definitely being one of the most interesting things right now, happening right now. Think a bit about it, and again to get some more perspective, in terms of what we do, right? So basically, a lot of these insights are from interaction with clients, from interaction with enterprises who are implementing FinOps. Just day before yesterday, I was talking to an enterprise. It's a leading tobacco company. It's not ITC, it's another one, but it's leading tobacco. And they were telling how their entire adoption of cloud was completely messed up, right? Basically, individual teams went about adopting cloud in their own interest, like they wanted to, in a state where it's very hard to understand what's happening in different parts of the organization. There's very little visibility and so on. So they want to now look and option and try and streamline all of it. So in terms of the, a lot of what you will see is based on interaction with these enterprises or based on interaction with service providers, right? For example, the Accenture TCS of the world who are doing this, what they are doing and so on. And you usually did a great job in the last presentation. You touched upon what FinOps is, how it's not just about cost optimization, and you will see some of it here also. There will be a bit of repeat, but hopefully I'll try and add some more color to it. But overall, yeah, I think Joel, I did a great job in the previous presentation. So with that, I'll begin. And to start off, right, and I'm not a tech guy, right? So basically, I don't know into details, but think of it more like a story in terms of what has happened and how FinOps has evolved, what's happening right now in the market. So most of, I think, if we talk about cloud and cloud adoption, a lot of cloud adoption has happened in the post-COVID 2 to 3 years. Right? We have faced at a big size which it was happening earlier. It was there, but it suddenly, kind of became much higher than what it would normally have been. And that led to a lot of challenges. And that's where these are some of our survey data points where, more than 50% enterprises believe that cloud adoption was done in a very hurried manner, right? So they're not really thinking through in terms of how we should be doing about it. And what typical enterprise expectations are that we get a lot of return, high return on cloud investments, cost savings, greater focus on business innovation, reduction in tech debt for enterprises, and flexibility in using all the cloud sources. Right? So I'm moving to AWS, I can use a lot of cloud sources from AWS. But when we do a reality check, we see that most enterprises, right, in fact, I'd say the number should be higher than 67%, is that they believe that they are not able to realize the expected level of value from cloud, right? So the reality is that there are a lot of cost overruns, and we are discussing that in terms of how these cost overruns and their business objectives do not really get realized in terms of what enterprise had initially thought and what they are now getting. There's a lot of non-compliant risk within industries, right? Industries like banking, finance, healthcare, and life sciences, they need to know compliance. Those who don't get compliant to. In terms of operational performance, also there is a lot of inadequacy in terms of operational performance, right? So, quick question from enterprise and from all of you here is when we think about value, right? So basically what I'm saying is that there are, and in the next slide we'll see some of it, but there are multiple value leakage points within organizations. Right. So what do you think that where do organizations leak out value that they should have realized that while implementing from cloud? So what could be some of those? And I think you touched upon some of those in the last discussion, but where do you believe organizations tend to leak out value from their cloud environment? What do they do wrong? Overestimating? So what are the mistakes people make?
What
Overestimating.
normal resources,
Correct. Not properly, yeah.
not setting billing alarm for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. So all of these are right, right? And a lot of these pointers that are there are from a tools and process perspective, right? I think one of the things that people do generally miss out is the culture aspect of organizations, right? So despite having all of the tools, all of the processes in place, if you do not really embed FinOps within the culture of an organization, right, people do not want to do it, will never will not be able to realize the benefits of FinOps. And that's where if we move on. So what we see is that there's a gap between the expected value from cloud function versus the actual value that gets realized. And there are multiple reasons for all of these. And this is spread across tools, processes, and culture of an organization, right? So if you look at some of the reasons over here, we call it out, inadequate operational performance, no insights from available IT landscape, right? So we're talking about visibility. So we don't have visibility in terms of what's happening within the organization. Increase in cloud operation costs, right? So you move from your on-prem to cloud environment, right? You need to train resources, you need to hire new people, you need to deploy new tools and skills. So overall, there will be increase in operational costs. Difficulty in managing governance, risk, and compliance, right? Again, as number of processes proliferate, right? There are more people raising up PMs, spinning up PMs without any monitoring. It becomes more difficult to manage all of it in terms of governance, risk, also in terms of cybersecurity, there are increased risk. Inefficient collaboration between internal teams. I think again, we'll talk in detail in some of the session, right, in terms of how it's similar to DevOps, right? It's not about collaboration between different teams that you need, and often that does not happen. And then finally, in terms of a competency gap, right? You do not actually have the skills that you need to support enterprise growth when it comes to cloud adoption. So these are typically some of the reasons where enterprises tend to leak out value, right? They do not get what they expect, and after a period of time, they realize that we need to do something. That is where FinOps has, I would say, regained importance, right? So I think FinOps as a terminology has been there for quite some time, but over the last 1 or 2 years, it has significantly gained a lot more importance. Very interestingly, as there had reinvented industry reinvent last year, it was very surprising to see there were almost 30 to 35 FinOps players over there, also FinOps players, and basically you do not easily get a boot there, right? People need to pay to get boots, and also I think if out of a total of 100, there are 35 FinOps players. So that's a significant portion in terms of the number of companies doing FinOps right now, right? So a lot of small startups there. So yeah, so overall, basically the market, right, is really hot in terms of FinOps. And if we talk about the market size, right, in terms of FinOps right now, and this is our estimate in terms of the market size, is $65 billion market. Now, if you compare it to overall cloud services market which stands around $130 billion, it's still significant, right, in terms of the potential that the market holds and the amount of spending that enterprises are doing, and the overall growth rate of this particular industry or this particular area is 32 to 36%. per year, right? Which is again very significant if you think about the base at which the market is already at, the market spend is already at, right? And again, so in terms of cloud spend, more than 60% of their organizations are spending around 7% of their cloud spend just on FinOps. Right. So while everything else is happening in terms of cloud, consulting, design, build, operations, but significant, right? 7% spend happening on FinOps. And also there, I think Azure touched upon it that, it's not that only large enterprises need to do FinOps. A lot of the spend is actually coming from small to mid-market enterprises. The way we look at it is, I think, there are broadly three buckets in which FinOps is happening, right? It can be expanded into multiple areas, but one is for cloud cost visibility, right? Which is very obvious. I think everyone relates to cloud cost visibility. Second is cloud cost management, and the third one is most important. And finally, it should be related to business value from cloud, right? Basically, everything that we are doing should kind of equate to some kind of business value creation. So that's where I think the market is really hot right now for FinOps, and good idea to kind of also use it as a recruitment tool by Ashish. So again, I think just talking a bit more about FinOps definition. So we touched upon some of these, right? So cncf has its own definition. I think there's a FinOps foundation. Everyone has defined FinOps in different ways. Kind of, this is a very expansive view into this, right? I think there should not be things beyond this. So typically, in terms of how much reduction is possible, we often get this question, right? And at an average, 20 to 30% cost reduction is easily possible for most enterprises, right? Depending on where they are in their cloud journey, right? How much of their state it could be much higher also. So we have seen 50 to 60% improvements, right, in certain areas. So, it really depends on where you're starting as you're deploying, but typically a significant reduction possible. Now, what are the features of a cloud economic solution? And again, if you see that it's in a photo, right, basically ties back to what Vijay was talking about, that it's a continuous process, not just a one-time thing. So that's why you see all of these arrows going round and round. And these are the key principles of FinOps. So basically resource utilization, right? So I won't go into a lot of details because this is a bit of overlap in what we've already heard, but resource utilization, right? So we are tracking resource utilization and allocation, resource demand, so forecasting predictable resource demand that we are going to get, value realization. Now, basically here it's about thinking and tracking of metrics, right? So typically, cost is something that people associate very easily. It's easy to see as a metric, but what are the things beyond cost that you should be tracking about? And that's where value becomes value that we're talking about is cost plus a lot of intangible factors. And those are things such as staff productivity, operational resilience, business agility. Combination of all of this is what value realization is about. Cost is, cost is straightforward. Application portfolio. So alignment of the architectures and portfolio rationalization, right? So basically, you cannot keep operating, with archaic architecture, right? If you have mainframe, you try and ensure that your mainframe applications can integrate with the cloud environment, right? So all of those modernization changes needs to happen. Pricing models, again, basically all of these hyperscalers offer a lot of mechanisms. There are different kind of pricing models. We'll see some of it, but potentially there's option for subscription models. There's a lot of enterprises often do not utilize discount models that are available out there in the market as well. So these are the key features of cloud economic solution. Feel free to stop me if there are any questions in between also. And what are the key selling themes of cloud economic solution, right? And this is where we see certain solutions doing better than others, right? So what do enterprises look for in a cloud solution, and how do they Let me go ahead with this one. I think we have a question on what are common tools out there, right? You talked about Google Cloud, Amazon Google Cloud, what are you see some of those tools, but how what makes enterprises select these, right? What do their procurement teams look at? These are some of the factors that are there, right? So one is immediate cost savings, because something that innovate is providing you 20 to 30% savings over the next 6 months, over the next 1 year, right? And something like that eliminating the often resources. So again, enterprises are challenged in understanding where there are resources which we are not able to identify, which are unused. State rationalization. So identifying the right storage, right, compute instances, and all of these things around pricing model and so on. Hybrid and cloud, multi-cloud management, right? So essentially, a lot of these tools, we native tools, especially when you talk about AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, all of them have FinOps solutions, FinOps tools. But most of them are able to provide it only for their environment, right? And most enterprises today are hybrid or multi-cloud. Therefore, enterprises do look for a solution that is able to provide a hybrid and multi-cloud management system, not just for their own native cloud environment. Finally, application-driven cloud cost management, right? So, basically, it should be the cloud infrastructure should be something that gets built in a manner that there's avoidance of wastage and overprovisioning of resources. These are key things present in a solution tends to that tends to be more appreciated, especially by procurement team. This slide is an old slide. It's a 2 3 years old slide, but the reason I put, I think it serves the purpose is essentially there's a lot of focus of PE firms, right, in this particular market, and it's talking about reinvent and how there are so many players. I think PE firms are looking to invest. They are also looking to acquire a lot of these companies, and there are multiple companies out there right now. And there is significant interest in investment activity in cloud economic solutions. And as I said, right, this is around 2 3 years old slide. We have a lot of new logos. I did add a couple of slides, 90, and hopefully that's there in this presentation. And we'll go through some of that. But again, the idea is that it's a hard space. Right? Eventually, we'll see a lot of investments from PE firms happening. It's happening now. It'll be happening over the next 2 years, 3 years. So it's a good place to be in, if you're around someone in a startup company also in this particular space right now. So ये PE firms में काफी interest है basically इस area में invest करने के लिए, right? So being island capital partners, right? So basically there's a lot of money coming, काफी पैसे आ रहे हैं. Startups अगर कोई इस area में startup है तो काफी investments आ रहे हैं उसमें that. Now, so what needs to happen? Right? And basically, if you are from a tech provider or if you're working with a service provider or you're an enterprise, right? Needs to understand and streamline as we go forward is while everyone now kind of understands the basics of FinOps, right? People also now start to understand that it goes beyond cost management and there are other things involved in FinOps. But when we talk from the Exo perspective, right, so in terms of how the decision making is being made, one is that the decision making is very diverse, right? So it's not just the IT teams who are making these decisions right now. So it's IT, finance, management teams, everyone comes together, and therefore, as a provider, right, so whatever solution we are building essentially needs to talk to the challenges of these different teams within enterprises. Second is enterprise expect an end-to-end value proposition, right? So on the next couple of slides, we'll see that how in this space different players come over offering very specific things, right? So getting particular discounts, so purchasing from AWS at a particular price in volume, and then selling at slightly higher price, but still providing a discount to enterprises, right? So now enterprises want that everything from RI management consulting, managed services support, everything happens by a single provider. What is guaranteed savings, right? So essentially, enterprises expect that whatever tools people are coming up with, that they need to provide more guaranteed savings, stronger and consistent process plan in the market. Automation is very prominent, right? So basically, all of the tools should be having certain levels of automation, enterprises expect that. And finally, again, hybrid cloud environments, right? A lot of the tools are today AWS native, Azure native, and so on. So people want it to be more hybrid in terms of the tools. So I just added this slide right now, right? Because there was a question in terms of the last of the slide that already tools available in the market and how we do some of that. Maybe I'll present the next one, last one. So there are different players in the market. This is illustrated, but essentially what has happened is what I was talking about, right? So there are different types of FinOps providers. So some people do reselling, right? So basically just purchase it to someone like an AWS, Azure, Google Cloud in bulk and then sell it to enterprises, right? So they just do that, and it's unbelievable the kind of money people have been able to make just through reselling. I think all of the hyperscalers are now putting a curve to it. Reselling as is not something that is being encouraged by the hyperscalers also. But that is one. RISP management is I think basically managing the resources, right? So how much utilization etc. is happening. So you identify areas where extra consumption is happening. Then there's consulting and managed service provider. So they come in an organization, do all of the review setups, in terms of understanding the architecture, right? What all changes should be made in operations. And there are players who do end-to-end FinOps, right? So, these are some of the players who do end-to-end FinOps. Visibility and recommendation provider, right? So they focus just on providing visibility in their state. That this is where your cloud consumption is high, this is where you can make certain changes. And then there are FinSecOps providers also, right? Who embed security within FinOps, right? Similar to DevSecOps, basically there is a practice around FinSecOps also. And again, no, I have to.
So how do you select the agent? And how do we select the best one?
Good question, right? So, how do we, essentially, I repeat the question, how do we select and identify which is the best one? So what has happened, right, interestingly, is that these providers came up like this, but essentially enterprises want everything, right? So you would want to put all levers to optimize your cost to look at option whatever way is possible. So this market landscape has, actually started to come together at one place, and almost all of the providers have started to do everything. Right? This was to show how providers came up in this space through different perspectives, but essentially, if you're talking about now, basically, you need to look at people who are doing end-to-end. Yeah.
Like as part of cloud cost optimization, we use reserved instances for instances to save on cloud cost. So, like, what decisions are we making with finance team as a DevOps engineer to save up, like, to bring the cost down, bring down the cost?
So yeah, so I think good question, right? So essentially, finance teams are getting involved more from a accounting perspective, right? Basically, what are the kind of ROI you can generate when implementing certain tool solutions? They will not get into the technicalities in terms of which solution is better, but more focused around costs, etc. How we can write it, right? So potentially, they will not get into this kind of discussion that whether you are using RASP discounts or you are doing certain other things. Essentially, that's the discussion that happens. Yeah. We also do, as you mentioned, I mentioned that we are research firm, right? So we also do a lot of assessments around providers, and this one was focused on FinOps cloud cost management. Again, we talked about there are different. This has been influenced, especially from cloud cost management. These are some of the solutions again, I just started. That I can show that there are multiple cloud types of players out there. Like you see people such as provide sales, they also have their own solutions. There are service providers, there are tech vendors like private cloud facilities like Saravan, right? So all of them have their own solutions. It's already market. Right now it's a crowded market, right? And there are multiple options available, and that's why basically this entire point around what needs to happen, right? How do you differentiate in this crowded market if you're a provider or an enterprise? How do you select the right solution? All of this becomes critically taking that decision. So that is it from my side. We'll take pause for any questions or reactions there.
What's the future of अभी एक दो साल में क्या बात हो सकता है कि चला भी है तो क्यों हो जाए.
That's a good question. I think it's a great question. In fact, I think as an area, like cloud as an area, that you answered it broadly. Basically, it's evolving at a very fast pace, right? I think we touched in the last discussion also that what was happening 2 years back is not happening. The same will be true for FinOps also, right? It's not something that we go on till eternity. I think over the next 2 3 years, enterprises will reach a stage, reach an adoption stage, and mature and stabilize. And few things will keep happening, right? There will be things coming up. For example, we're talking about Kubernetes. I think adoption there is low. As that adoption increases, whether it is an enterprise, whether it is Kubernetes, and so on. Over the next 2 to 3 years, it's a hard market. It will stabilize, right? After that, but why you should, focus on this, invest in this from a economic perspective is that you can get into the space, right? You get a lot of learning experience, and you can keep developing more capabilities along, right? So if you're in the tech space, essentially you need to keep learning and keep growing, right? So you have AI coming today. It integrates well with cloud, right? So essentially you develop all of those skills also while you are doing FinOps and some of the other things. And new things will keep coming. Right? This is learning journey in tech industry.
It's more close to business and consulting. Right? So this take a scenario which like how do you think that being a FinOps or a CloudOps consultant, how can I approach a client who is trying to do digital transformation in the stage of digital transformation and are personally culturally resistant towards their FinOps teams? How do you think that we should? What are the things we should prioritize for them?
Great question, and I will take the example, right, that I was mentioning around this corporate company, right, which was, their cloud adoption was, and essentially everyone did their own cloud adoption, right, different business units, and now to bring them all together, culturally make that change, it's not really, something where you start, what's your starting point. Typically, you need to look for a sponsor. Basically, sponsor essentially means that one person who is really intent about driving this change within the organization. Now, it could be anyone, right? It could be a CIO, CTO, or it could be someone they have hired, especially to do FinOps, right? So that's where at least our conversation was happening because this person wanted to do FinOps, wanted to drive the operational changes because you can't get inside an enterprise, right, as an external consultant. So you need someone within the enterprise driving that change and then work together with that person to, there would be steps to do it, right? It's a consultant answer, but there will be steps, right? So first you go in and try and interact with people out there, understand their challenges, discover their challenges, help them understand that how potentially adoption of FinOps will need to improve maybe everything, right? So actually for them personally as well as from a business perspective, overall it leads to improvement. And second step is bringing them all together on a single table, aligning to the objectives and establishing common goal. Then the third step would be setting certain metrics, right, in terms of how do we track that whatever we are doing in terms of changes is successful or not, and fourth is the continuous evaluation process. Typically, these are the steps that you would follow. But the first step is to really have a sponsor within the organization, right? This. Yes.
I have just a question. So you do a lot of analysis. In my understanding, I think till $1 million scale, what I have understood is people in the teams are capable enough, if trained right, to manage the cost properly. And you won't need any third-party tool from any of the vendors. After that, how have you seen how much impact do these tools actually make in terms of percentage or impacting team's efficiency and everything?
Yeah, right. So till an organization is very small, people are able to do it, but as soon as it becomes large in scale and you want to lose track of visibility within an enterprise, I think that's where you see significant, savings. Also where sometimes people are not entirely aware, right, about you are more focused on your business outcome, business idea, but not taking much care of operational costs. There also we have seen, a lot of founders benefit a lot. And from some of these smaller companies, right, we've seen improvements up to 50%, 60% just using small instances where people were not doing it right in the first place. So yeah, I think and yes, 1 million is a small size, but as when you start to scale up, that's where these become more important, more relevant.
Yep. Because as a consultant, what I see is a lot of clients, even at smaller scale, don't do a couple of basic things. Even there, though they have a dedicated person for that.
Right.
Like in terms of AWS, you can just go and enable the recommendations that you get, and with that you can save certain amount, certain percentage of bill. But they don't. So at scale, that would impact.
Right.
Would become huge. That's why that was the question.
Yeah, and also the skill, right? Basically, the skill needed and the awareness about some of these tools and technologies out there, right? So all of these three hyperscalers have their own native tools for optimization, but I don't know how much it is getting.
So more about education and adoption is the part.
Education, adoption, change, right? So change management, cultural changes, all of that comes together and potentially, when we think from a tool perspective, we often miss out on some of those, but that's where a lot of impact actually happens. Okay, so if there are no other, I'll be around, right? So feel free to interact and ask if there is anything else. But thank you again for the opportunity to